This is Michael Scott Hollash with the Reform Report, and today we have a new interview in our Voices from La Cosa Nostra series. The gentleman we are interviewing was associated with members of the Bonanno crime family's Giannini crew in Ridgewood, New York, as well as with the longtime powerful Gambino mobster Bobby Glasses, and closely associated with the one-time head of the Westie's Irish organized crime organization, Bosco the. The gentleman we are interviewing, his name is Pedge. He was also known on the streets as Pedge Tattoos. And what is unique about him is that his nationality is Serbian, so he will be able to provide a different insight than we are used to bringing on the channel. But again, he was a very connected guy with these various entities, and we'll be able to provide just a good insight into what was going on the streets in Ridgewood during that period. And if you are new to the channel and you are interested in the subject of organized crime, our Voices from La Cosa Nostra series is the oldest and longest running Mafia interview series. You can go back in our video library and take a listen to each of our interviews that we have conducted over the years with gentlemen who have operated on both sides of the law. Also, if you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, you will be notified when any new interview gets posted. So without further ado, here is my interview with Pedge. So, Pedge, I guess we'll kind of start a little bit at, near the beginning. So you were in Ridgewood. And did you grow up around the guys that ended up being in the Giannini crew?
Yeah, I did. Most everybody kind of like either came to America or, born Bushwick, Brooklyn, or Ridgewood, Queens. So mostly everybody just gravitated from Bushwick, Brooklyn up to Ridgewood, Queens. So like most of us have the same exact upbringing. And I grew up with some of these kids in school. Went to school with them. I mean, Ridgewood's a small little area, so usually you bump into people, here, there, a club, a bar, or whatever. So that's basically how I met everybody,
Right. And I mean, and obviously, these kids were all, either sons or nephews of guys from the Pizza Connection.
From the former Pizza Connection days, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you think, obviously these kids, and I kind of run into this in most of the interviews that I do, it's like people becoming a product of their environment. So they're around this and they come to look up to it and respect it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, most of them, either their uncles got locked up or their dads or whatever, so they had that kind of already in the family. They were already hooked up. Somebody had a button or somebody was doing dirt, whatever. So they kind of they already seen that growing up. So they just wanted to make a name for themselves at a younger age. I mean, the Giannini crew, I really didn't rub too much shoulders with them, but, they were just everywhere. So there's no way you couldn't bump into them. After a club, if you went to the Ridgewood Diner, they'd be there. If you went to a club, they'd be there. It got to the point, these guys just so fast were making their bones that it was just when we went as in a group, with the Serbian group that I hung out with and whatever other neighborhood guys there were, if we went to a club somewhere and they saw, they ID'd us and they saw 11385, zip code, they already assumed that we were part of the Giannini crew. They were like, nah, you can't come in, because wherever they go, they just mow the lawn. It was just either a fight or somebody gets shot, or it was really crazy at that time,
Right. And obviously, Frankie Fiordolino. For those of you that haven't heard, I've interviewed Frank on the channel twice, and Frank and I are doing some other projects that I'll be discussing at some point in the near future. We just got done working on a National Geographic project. I'll be covering that. But anyway, so Frank obviously was embedded deep with the Giannini, and Frank obviously was very, his family's very connected with the mafia, going back to Sicily, but in New York as well. One thing that Frank said was, between the immediate guys in the Giannini crew plus their associates and everything, they were like 60 guys deep. He said they were massive.
Yeah, they were a big group. I mean, they were all over. I mean, it was just, the main group, I think it was 15, 20 guys, just the ones that, hung out at the cafe, Baldo's Cafe, the
Right.
Giannini Cafe. So, other than that, I mean, they had, whatever they could have their hands in, they had their hands in, like for firsthand, they had their hands in everything. So, I'm not one, I was always known in the neighborhood, like a go-to guy, like you need something, go to him, he knows people, I knew everybody. But, Frankie, he was always trying to, like, go on his own, like make his own group up and everything,
Right.
make his own bones, and he did. I mean, he did hang out with them, and, I'll give you a story. They were in a club in the city, off of Park Ave. We happened to be there, me and my friends, and, Frankie, like, just looked at me, laughed, gave me a nod. I kind of, like, knew what the fuck that was going to be like, and the Giannini crew didn't like somebody, and there was a pool table upstairs, and they destroyed the place. I mean, like, they beat anybody within, a half inch of their life. I mean, it was just, they went crazy. I mean, that's just one story. I mean, there's other stories that Frank was, around them at all times. But like I said, I got to know Frank where he was associated with them, but he was trying to break away and do his own thing. And he was successful. He's doing his own thing.
Right.
He kind of like I said, reached out to different groups of people. He just didn't stay within the Italians. He reached out to us, the Serbian kids, the Romanian kids in the neighborhood. He had connections with some Spanish people in Bushwick, and if there was something to be made, he was in on it. You know what I'm saying? And he did his thing.
Right. And now them aside, what was your connection initially with Bobby Glasses?
Well, tell you the honest truth, I got introduced to Bobby Glasses. Since I speak Romanian and Serbian, being half and half, a lot of people went to Bobby to borrow money. So they didn't speak the English too great. I kind of got introduced as the go-between to speak. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people had the factories. They fell short on payroll. They needed to borrow money. And that's how I met Bobby. Like that. I got introduced, and I did the little, like the little translation or whatever, and that's how I got to meet him. And he was a great guy. I can say. I mean, great heart, but I mean, don't fuck him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, pay on time. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't pay on time, so he's gonna send somebody. And that's where I again came into play. Like, a lot of times these guys would not pay. They figure, screw it, I'll pay next week. Well, look, with our people, maybe you can get away with a week or two, but with the Italians, you don't. So like, I'd have to go and give them a message like, look, you got 3 days. Come up with the money. Come up with at least the juice.
Right.
So that's how I got to meet Bobby. And I mean, he was a gentleman. I'm not gonna sit there and say he was anything different. He wasn't a tough guy, but you knew he could be a tough guy. He was a gentleman. He was a gentleman. I can't say that he wasn't.
Well, and two, it's like sometimes it's not so much them that you have to worry about; it's the people that work at their behest that you have to worry about.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, walking into his cafe, it was like everybody that was sitting there having coffee was not just sitting there having coffee. These guys were the leg breakers, the chasers, the guys going around collecting, doing what they got to do. But I could just say that, I knew him where I could walk into the back room, give him a kiss on the cheek, say, hey, how you doing, this and that. The 90s were like turbulent because, if you looked at one of the Giannini guys the wrong fucking way, are you gonna get batted? Are you gonna get whacked? Are they gonna follow you? Are they gonna fucking kill you? You don't fucking know. They were just trying to make bones, and they didn't give a shit. They really didn't like the Yugoslavians and the Serbians in the neighborhood, but they knew we served the purpose. We had connections. We did shit, so they used us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Frankie, on the other hand, that's a different story. Frankie, if he formed a bond with you, he formed a bond with you.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, that bond goes only so far. I mean, if he was given an order, he would do what he had to do. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
I got lucky. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I got lucky. I got to see sides of Frankie up close. Literally, like what you see in the movies and Goodfellas and Men of Respect and all that other crap. True, I got to see that shit up close, and it's scary at that time. But like I said, I'm 52 now, and I'm like, I don't connect to anybody else, and I just raised my kid, and I'm in Florida now, and I just that whole life behind. I still talk to a few people. I'm not gonna mention names, but I still talk to a few people. And they just reach out to me like around my birthday to say happy birthday and whatnot. And I just say, hey, how you guys doing? How's the family? They kind of give me an update on the neighborhood, but that's all long and gone. When there's a lot of people sitting there and throwing shit on you that you didn't do, or trying to just put you in and take away time from them, that's where it becomes like, it becomes iffy. I don't know what I would do.
Well, the thing is, that's when you have to answer the question, like, I'm loyal to this thing, but if this thing is not loyal to me, well, then fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, it's hard to analyze. People say, well, just a rat is a rat, but different people's situations are different. They're compromised differently.
Exactly.
So you look at a guy like Frank. When Frank's willing to say, I'm taking this to trial, I'm going to fight this thing, but then he's seeing, he's seeing Sal and Joe Massino and all these guys flipping. Yeah. It's like, whoa. I mean, this is the boss of our family.
When that happened, that kind of it was shocking to me, because I remember having my bar and going to Casablanca, and they'd have these stag parties where they go deer hunting, and then they would cut the deer up, make sausage, whatever. And I kind of got introduced to Joe, and I kind of got in there, and I really didn't know what the hell was going on. What am I doing in this circle? But once they heard my name, oh yeah, you're that kid Pedge, yeah, that Serbian kid. Yeah, I know, I heard about you. You're a good guy. So I would go to these parties and whatever, and then to hear all of this, just like in one day, boom, it was like Joe flipped. I was like, holy shit, are you kidding me? The boss? That was crazy. So I couldn't put one-to-one together, because everybody started dropping after that. Frankie got picked up, and it was just like, what the hell's going on? I mean, Frankie did some crazy shit, and he didn't get picked up for a lot of the crazy shit he did. So I didn't think Frankie was a rat. I just knew, Frankie did shit. People were scared. People didn't want to say shit. I'll give you a for instance story. We were playing cards in a social club, and it was a Serbian guy that owned it or whatever, and we were playing pool, and right there was the pool, and I hear just Frankie getting aggravated, and Frankie's like, dude, if you ask for a new deck again, I'm gonna shoot you, he mentioned it a few times, and this guy would just, give me a new deck, with the Italian accent or whatever. Boom, he just pulled out, pop, pop, pop. Yo, we just ran the fuck out of there. We didn't know what the fuck to do. Frankie takes off with his two guys. They speed off. This guy walks his ass out limping, and it's hysterical, because he walks out and then he gives us the third degree, Minky, why you let him fucking do this? You don't help me, We're running away from this guy. We're jumping in our cars. I'm jumping in my Riviera. This one's jumping in his caddy. This guy gets in his car, drives himself to the fucking hospital, and we didn't know what the fuck happened. We waited a week or two. There was some sort of sit down. I really don't remember. But here comes Frankie smiling back in the social club. The social club was closed for a couple of weeks. Here comes Frankie when it reopened. Smile on his face, little quirky, Frankie smile, hey, what's going on, guy? And we're like, yo, what the fuck happened? Hey, shit happens. Like, that was Frankie. Like, I didn't know where I stood with him. Like a funny story. He, upon this guy that had that social club, which I'm not going to mention his name because he did various things, and I don't know whether he, did turn or he didn't, or he made a deal or not. I don't know. Right. So, it was a video club at the time. So he got locked up for some charge. I forgot what it was. And he gave me the keys to run the place. I was like, dude, I had a job too, like 9 to 5. So I was just like working the night shift. I was like, I'm not running this social club. So the guy that was running it, his nickname was Spider. So we let him run it or whatever. Frankie comes to my house at 9 in the morning. Now I get off at 2 in the morning. I played some cards that night, so I went to bed at 5. I'm dead tired. Walks in. My mom just opens the door, and I see Frankie, 2 other guys. And Frankie goes, hey, Pedge, get dressed. So he picks out a Sergio Tacchini for me. It was like a tracksuit. He's like, hey, put this on. So now I'm trying to look for my gun, because I'm like getting that feeling like I'm taking a ride where I'm not coming back. And he's telling my mom, don't worry, Mom, he's going to be all right. We just got to take care of something. He goes, oh, and grab the keys to the video store. I was like, okay. I grabbed that, and he sees me trying to go for my gun. He goes, no, you're not going to need that. Come on, let's go. Get in the car, quiet. We take the ride. Not a word was said to me. I'm getting, like, a little paranoid because the guy in the back seat's looking at me like, like just staring at me. And I'm like, I'm going to get whacked. For what? I don't know. But it's that longest drive of your life that you ever take. We get to the video store. He goes, Dad, open it up. I open it up. He goes, Pedge, I need you to do me a solid. Get rid of all this fucking video shit. Put everything in fucking bags. I go, okay, what do you want me to do? He goes, I don't give a fuck. He goes, get rid of everything. I'm bringing a pool table in here. Blah, blah, blah. And like, he did like mini construction, making like a little thing on the side where he can make a little game room or something. He goes, it's my club now. I said, did you talk to so-and-so about this? He goes, he ain't got nothing to fucking say. That was it. So now I go to see this guy, I don't know if it was we talked on the phone or I went to go see him on a visit. I think I went to go see him on a visit. Yeah, I went to go see him on a visit. So he was locked up in Long Island. So I went to Long Island to see him, and I go, hey, look, Frankie, blah, blah, blah. Who the fuck is he to take my all big and, hollering and hooting.
Right, so you kind of got placed in the middle of this thing,
Yeah.
Not by your own choosing, obviously.
Let me tell you something. I was always in the middle of every fucking thing. I had a cigarette connection. I had a weed connection. I had a chop shop connection. I just knew a lot of people. How I met these people, I don't know. But I was likable, but a lot of guys also were jealous of me because I was funny, I was outgoing, and, they would keep me around because I tell jokes, I attract the girls, I did this, I did that, but Frankie wasn't. Frankie was always real. He liked me for me. He liked me because I was funny. You'd always be like, Pedge, tell a joke, Pedge, tell a joke,
Right. Well,
that's how that happened.
Well, and two, the environment again. It's a melting pot environment with a lot of different personalities. A lot of different people know each other, so you're almost like a 1 degree of separation from everybody. How did you initially get to know Bosco?
Bosco, I got to know through 2 people. One guy I just know his nickname. I don't know his last name. He was just called Sava the Boxer. He was a boxer back home in Serbia, came to the United States. Tough guy, kind of criminal. I can't sit there and say he did, he put bodies, but in our community, he was well known not to be fucked with.
Right.
I kind of was with him taken to a couple of these Irish hangouts that Bosco was there. It wasn't formally introduced until I forgot when it was, what year it was, but it was in the early 80s. It was through somebody, I can't really remember who it was, and they were like, hey, this is Bosco, and I'm like, hey, how you doing, Pedge? He goes, yeah, I kind of heard about you. You're from Ridgewood. Yeah, it's that. He goes, and I think it was this Macedonian guy, because I hung out with him a lot, and they were going to some club that was I think on or off Fifth Avenue, was called the Adriatic Club. That's where all former Yugoslavians hung out, Serbians, Croatians, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, we all went there. I was a teen. I was like 17, 18 years old. And we went in there, and, a tradition is serves by one table around the drinks. This one buys another round. And, I sent him around. He invited me to his table. We sat there. We talked. He kind of asked me what my affiliation was, like back home. And I said, well, I'm kind of like this and like that, Who do you hang out with? I said, I hang out with these guys, those guys. He goes, oh, so you hang out with the Bananos, a couple of the Gambinos. Yeah, okay, you know this guy, you know that guy, yeah. Bobby Glasses, this one, Vito, yeah, I know all these guys. Yeah, he goes, good. He goes, there's some things, and everything. He goes, just keep your nose clean and be careful about those guys. You know what I'm saying? He goes, do your thing. Hang out with our people. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And Bosco introduced me right before he got deported. Mm-hmm. He introduced me to Radovan Karadzic at the Serbian embassy.
Right.
I think it's on 63rd or 68th Street.
Yeah, that's impressive.
He actually sent a message through Sava. Hey, tell Pedge to be here and here. I got a surprise for him. Because he knew at that time when that war was going on, I was like, so gung-ho Serbian, Chetnik all the way, yeah,
Right.
And I went, and sure enough, I'm at the door, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on the list, say my name, I go inside, beautiful, like, palatial interior, and I see Bosco, I run over, and I'm like, hey, Chica Boshko, Chica means, like, uncle. I want you to meet somebody. And he goes, Radovan, this is a very good patriot, and so on and so forth, and one of our, like, like when you say UNAC, that means it's like, you're like a real hero, like you die for the cause, and he was just like, this is Pedge, and I couldn't believe it. The guy's tall, 6'3", like,
oh, he's a big guy. Okay.
Yeah, professor looking. So,
well, he was a doctor, right? He has a medical degree.
Yeah, he was a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist.
Absolutely.
Sparacino, yeah.
Super intelligent.
Yeah,
right?
So, he introduced me to him. Through that connection, I started meeting other freedom fighters, meaning guys that were in the United States, but were forming militia groups to go back home and fight in Bosnia. So then I met this guy, Zach. He was born and raised in New Jersey, but lived in Queens. Never knew this. We hit it off. We became friends, and we started forming little groups like, the Pan-Hellenic Front, the Pan-Orthodox Front, to try to unite the Greeks, the Bulgarians, the anybody of Orthodox origin, to unite them, for the cause,
Absolutely.
Get donations, send humanitarian aid, all that kind of stuff.
Right. People who are traditionalists that believe in, nationalists that believe in the traditional cause.
Right.
And for the listeners, Pedge and I are going to do a follow-up interview here coming up that we're going to touch more on the Serbian side of things because it's very interesting. I mean, obviously, from what he just said, you can tell he was very connected to some big players in that whole ordeal.
Yeah.
So definitely, I'm looking forward to that. Now, but just real quick with going back to Bosco, obviously, and I'm assuming because of his position with the Westies, he was a pretty close associate of John Gotti Sr., right?
Yeah, he was. No, he was. He did a lot of things that others couldn't do. He had a lot of friends. He had a lot of reach. So when it came to like jury tampering, he like kind of just he sent out people to just do what he had to do. Like reach out to this guy. If you got to pay him off, pay him off. Just tell him Bosco said not guilty or you can't make up your mind or whatever. I mean that was a known. That was known fact. He kind of got pinched for that too. I think for the jury tampering. That's why he got the deportation hearing. Cause,
did he get pinched due to you think Sammy Gravano gave him up for that?
To tell you the God honest truth, I can't sit there and say Sammy gave him up for that. But a lot of people that were in the Gambinos knew Bosco was behind all of this.
Right.
Maybe Sammy did. I don't know. I wasn't there at the trial. I don't know what was said.
Right.
But I mean, Bosco got deported after that, and like through WhatsApp, Viber, those social media apps or whatever. We kept in contact, and when he passed away, it was kind of heartbreaking because, you know, I got a text and I got a picture and, hey, you know, Bosco's gone. And there must have been 25,000 people at his funeral. You know, he was well known. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I looked up the certain Banano guys because some of them were, you know, wise guys, tough guys. You know, I mean, majority they were all wise guys and tough guys. But some of them showed you a different side of them. You know, like Bobby. I mean, from what I heard, they got 2 bodies on him. He died in prison. You know, he was doing loan sharking for 20-some odd years, but he was like, he had heart. He didn't like just go and have somebody come and break your fucking legs. He knew you had a family. He knew you had, you know, with his people, with the Italians, maybe he was a little different. He didn't give a fuck. But with a lot of the Yugoslavian people and the community, he knew he would get his money. You know, he would just send a message and whatever. But he helped a lot of people when factories were going bust and the neighborhood was changing. Nobody was doing, you know, knitting mills anymore. Everything was being shipped out to China and Bangladesh and whatever. He was helping out a lot of guys keep their factories afloat to keep the family going. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to lie. Bobby Glasses was a gentleman. So I did the right thing. I always tried to do the right thing. I kept my mouth shut. I've been questioned many times. I lawyered up. You know, throughout the years, I mean, I'm in a lot of black and white photos. I'm in a lot of, you know, investigations. You know, like I said, I'd love to write a book about it. You know, that's why I kind of reached out to Frankie to get his okay. And Frankie was all for it. You know, and I could tell you stories like I could tell you stories about Frankie. You ask me some, and I'll tell you some stories that I got inside. Like I was kind of there, didn't see shit happen, but heard about it, or Frankie would brag to me about it. Like, you know, like there was that one incident with the murder. You know, with that guy Tom. I don't know if he told you about that. That was I was already out of that crew, that Yugoslavian Serbian crew, but I was hanging out at a Serbian social club. A gypsy Serbian guy owned the place. Very good friend of mine. We both came to America at the same time, grew up together. We were sitting there listening to music, doing whatever, bullshitting. Frankie pulls up with this other guy, just another Serbian kid that was, you know, doing the boosting and whatever. And they were all connected with Galante. So they were all connected with Joe Galante. You know, Joe Galante was the one doing all of this shit. He had a warehouse, or I don't know what the situation was. Mm-hmm. So this gypsy guy from Ontario, Canada, came down, and he used to come to this one specific social club because the owner was gypsy. They spoke that gypsy language, or Romney language, and I knew him. You know, like he spoke also Serbian, so I was speaking to him Serbian. Seemed like a nice guy. Didn't seem like, I mean, typical, I want to make money type of guy. Didn't seem like a murderer or anything like that.
Right.
And Dave, he would go outside. You know, he asked me, "Do you know this guy?" I said, "Yeah, I know Frankie. You got to tread lightly with Frankie." I go, "But the other guy, yeah, whatever. He's just about money. He wants to be a John Gotti type of guy, like leader of the entire group, you know." And I go, just be careful. I don't piss fucking Frankie off. He goes, "Yeah, I know." I go, "No, you don't." I go, "You're out of your territory right now. You're in a different area. This is not like the former Yugoslavia. You can't walk around into another neighborhood and throw a name. It's not going to work, you know." Mm-hmm. So I don't know what their deal was. They were going to do boost 20 cars, 30 cars, whatever. Frankie never really gave me details, you know. Mm-hmm. But Frankie Frankie wanted in on this deal or something. I don't know. But Frankie was getting pissed off because this guy was kind of like negotiating. There's no negotiations. You want a car, it's $5,000. Everybody knew that back then. It was $5,000. You wanted a car, high end, $5,000. So this guy put a list together of what cars he wanted, gave it to the Yugo guy. The Yugo guy sends out his guys to whatever. And this went on for about 2-3 weeks. I guess they were doing some cars that this guy had containers and he was shipping them. I really don't know. But I pieced a little bit together. One day something went afoul. They pulled up. And I walked out. Frankie was just like, "Yo, who the fuck's this guy think he is?" And I'm like, "Frankie, I don't know." He goes, "You don't know him." I go, "I swear to God, I don't know him just from this fucking cafe. That's all I know him from." He goes, "I'm gonna fucking kill this motherfucker. I'm gonna cut his head off." That's all I heard. That's all I fucking heard. And I was like, I've never seen Frankie this agitated. And within a week, I get a knock at the door, the local police. Hey, how you doing? I look down the block from my house, and I see police tape. And I go, yes. And they go, do you know anything about this guy, Toma so-and-so? And I'm like, I don't know nothing. No, what? What's going on? So you don't know him? I'm like, yeah, I see him around. They show me a black and white photo. Me, like, giving him a hug, and I'm like, okay, so I know him a little closer than I know him a little close. Where were you on this and this night? I go, I was at this and this club. You can go in this and this owner, and you could ask him. I was there till 4 a.m.
Right.
Well, down the block, a vehicle was found, and they start showing me pictures of the crime scene. And I'm just like, holy fucking shit, it's this guy Toma decapitated.
Now, in your head, you're probably putting two and two together, remembering what Frank said.
And I know Joe was wearing a wire with that whole thing with the cars.
Right.
That's what I think that's where I think this whole thing happened with the murder. And then Messina flipping, I kind of think Messina just cemented that.
Absolutely.
Charge. It's too many variables to sit there and actually say who gave up who, but I do know from Frankie personally that, Joe was wearing a wire, so this whole thing with the warehouse and the cars and all of that, this was a bigger thing, and Joe was just not only wearing a wire for that, wearing a wire for other meetings with certain Banano guys.
Right, of course. All right, Pedge, I think we got everything for this one, buddy.
All right, fantastic.
So I'm going to be in touch.